the laughing warlord in the heart of the galaxy. On a shining space station called Unity Prime, the most powerful leaders of alien worlds had gathered. The Galactic Council was holding a peace summit, hoping to end the growing tension between species. Every corner of the galaxy was represented. Proud empires, warrior clans, science worlds, and even the silent observers from the edge of known space. At the center of the long table stood General Varnock, the warlord of the Krath Dominion. He was large, armored in black plates, and his yellow eyes glowed with arrogance. His voice was sharp like a blade, and his laughter often filled the room. Whenever humans spoke, humanity had come with only two representatives. One was a calm woman named Ambassador Lyra, dressed in a simple gray suit. The other was a man in a white coat named Dr. Ren Heil, a quiet scientist with tired eyes and a strange metal box in his hands. The council room buzzed as the human placed the box on the table. It was small, silver, and shaped like a tube. There were no buttons, no lights, no weapons attached, just a smooth, humming cube that pulsed with a soft blue glow. "This," Dr. Wren said slowly, "is called the Echo Core, General." Varnock leaned forward, squinting. Then he burst into loud, mocking laughter. "You brought a toy," he growled. "You dare speak of peace and bring us a toy." Others laughed too, the sharp-toothed leaders of the Kari, the floating brains of the Yelenar. Even the cold-blooded Shorak let out a hiss of amusement. The humans didn't react. They just stood still, silent. "Is this what you call a weapon?" Varnock asked with a sneer. "This ... Box? You insult the council." Ambassador Lyra spoke softly. "It's not a weapon, General. It's a message." "Message?" He laughed again. "What message? That humans still play with toys?" Dr. Wren pressed his hand gently on the box. "It listens," he said. "It remembers." Varnock stood, roaring. "Enough! Either show your strength or leave the table. Humans are not warriors. You are insects playing soldier." Without another word, Ambassador Lyra gave a short nod. Dr. Wren picked up the cube and placed it carefully on the floor in the center of the room. Then they both turned and walked out without looking back. The council members looked at each other, confused. The cube continued to hum softly. Nothing more. Then the lights flickered. At first, it seemed like a simple power issue, but then the power didn't come back. The lights across Unity Prime faded. One by one, screens went dark. Ships in orbit began losing contact. Entire systems blinked offline. All at once. "What's happening?" Varnock shouted. He slammed his fist on the table, but it didn't respond. Even the table's energy core had shut down. The cube was still humming, now louder, from orbit. Defense systems of a dozen alien fleets began to shut down. Emergency power. Backups failed. Communication relays melted in silence. Panic began to grow inside the station. One of the Yelenar screamed, "This is human sabotage." "No," whispered a Shorak commander, staring at the cube. "This is something else." Cube released a small wave of light, invisible to the eye, but felt by every living being. It wasn't painful. It was cold, like a memory from long ago. Every species felt it differently. Fear, guilt, silence, shame. The council room fell quiet. Varnock clenched his teeth, glaring at the cube. "Turn it off," he shouted. "Turn it off now." But there was no button to press, no wire to pull, no switch to flip. It was not a weapon they understood. It was something older, deeper. Then a voice echoed from the cube. It was not human, not machine. It was something between "You were warned." It said. The words made the air vibrate. The leaders froze, eyes wide. None of them could speak. A projection appeared in the air. Images of human cities burned by alien invasions. Children crying, families hiding underground, scientists working in silence, soldiers dying with no help. All while the galaxy watched and did nothing, the cube spoke again. "Echoes remember," it said. "Justice will be balanced." Varnak tried to speak, but no sound came. He slammed his communicator, but it was dead. He looked around the table. Fear was on every face. A red light blinked once on the cube. Then it stopped humming. Outside the window, the stars seemed quieter. No ships moved. No lights blinked. The galaxy had gone silent. And for the first time in his life, General Varnak didn't laugh. He only whispered, "What have the humans done?" Silence across the stars. The silence stretched across space like a dark wave, from the orbit of Unity Prime to the deep colonies near the edge of the Androbelt. Systems fell one by one. No explosions, no warheads, no ships fired a single shot, but everything simply stopped. Power cores dimmed, hyperdrives shut down, weapons refused to respond. It was as if someone had pulled the plug on the galaxy itself. At Galactic Command in Sector 7, 1,000 ships floated, dead in space. Commanders shouted into broken comms. Engineers hit controls, tried to restart fusion cores. But even emergency backups failed. Screens showed static. Maps blinked into darkness. AI voices went silent. In the middle of it all, a single message kept playing in every language. On every silent screen, on every failing console. Echo Core activated. Protocol? Balance? No one knew what it meant, except the humans. And they had already walked away. Back at Unity Prime, General Varnak stood frozen. His clawed hand trembled. Near the edge of the now dead table, the cube, the so-called toy, still rested in the center of the room, silent but pulsing with that strange blue light. "I want answers," Varnak growled at no one in particular. "Bring me the humans now." But no one moved. The room was full of fear. Each species stared at the cube like it might explode at any second. A weapon that didn't fire, yet conquered without a sound. Ambassador Lyra and Dr. Wren were nowhere to be found. It was like they had disappeared the moment the cube touched the floor. No ship had left, no escape pods were used. Yet they were gone. Varnak slammed his fist into a pillar. Cracking it, he turned to his guard. "Find them, or I swear I will burn Earth myself." One of the Kari generals, Commander Irix, stepped forward nervously. "With all due respect, Warlord, our ships cannot move." "What?" Varnak snapped. "We have lost all systems," Irix said. "Even our internal power cells are fading. This isn't just sabotage. This is something else, something deeper, far across the galaxy, in a hidden system untouched by maps." A single human ship floated in silence. It was shaped like a sphere, made of materials the galaxy had never seen. Inside it sat a pilot named Ava Lynn, her eyes closed, her hands resting on a circle of light. The echo core inside her ship responded to her heartbeat. Not buttons, not code. It was alive. Not in the way machines live, but in the way memories do. She whispered to it, "Is it time?" The core pulsed once, gently, like a nod. "Then let them see," Ava said softly. Back at Unity Prime, the stars began to shift. Not move, shift like ripples in water. A second projection burst from the cube, covering the council room with light. It showed a timeline of pain. Years of human suffering. Alien raids, ignored cries for help, treaties broken, civilians slaughtered. Human colonies burned to ash while the council argued over trade routes and politics. Echo Core does not attack. The voice from the cube spoke again. It remembers. It echoes justice. Suddenly, every leader in the room felt something. Not pain, not fear, but memory. Not just memories from history, but memories of what they did, what they allowed, what they ignored. The Shorak elder fell to his knees, trembling. The Yelenar ambassador let out a horrible scream, covering its glowing brain with its tentacles. Commander Irix collapsed, sobbing. Without knowing why, Varnak stood still, his fists clenched. but his eyes wide with horror. "How?" he whispered. "This is impossible," the cube answered. "Not impossible," it said, "unforgiven. In orbit, something stirred near the outer planets. Not a ship, not a station, but a structure older than any civilization in the room. A black sphere the size of a moon turned slowly, lights waking on its surface. It had no name, no flags, no weapons, but its presence caused time itself to feel heavy. Ava Lynn's ship floated nearby. She looked out her window as the old structure powered up for the first time in 10,000 years. "It's awake," she said, "just like Earth." Warned them, the structure sent a pulse across the stars. Every species felt it like a tremor in the soul. Children woke from sleep crying. Soldiers dropped weapons without knowing why. Planets paused in fear, and then the final message came. "You thought it was a toy," the voice whispered through the void, but it was a mirror. Back in the council room, the cube's glow dimmed, but the silence remained deeper than before, like the galaxy itself was holding its breath. Varnok looked at the others, but no one returned his gaze. The warlord who had left was now a figure of dread, a symbol of what the galaxy had allowed to happen. The humans hadn't fired a single shot, yet the stars had gone silent, and the war had already been lost. The secret of the toy-long, before the summit on Unity Prime, before the stars went silent, before the alien warlords mocked the small silver cube, Earth had already known this day would come. Hidden deep beneath the mountains of old Asia, buried under steel and soil, a human facility had worked in silence for over 60 years. No flags, no armies, no reporters, just survivors, scientists, and a quiet mission whispered only among the shadows. They called it Project Echo. It began after Earth was nearly destroyed by a coalition of alien forces who believed humans were weak, unworthy, and disposable. The aliens didn't come with peace. They came with chains, lasers, and experiments. They came to study the human mind, the human pain, the human death. They called it science, but humans remembered it as horror. From the ashes of burned cities, a plan was born, not to build bigger weapons, not to launch more wars, but to create something different, something that could not be stopped by fleets or crushed by armies, something that could remember, something that could judge, something that would echo the truth so loud the galaxy would never forget again. In the underground chamber of Project Echo, Dr. Ren Hall once stood with a young girl named Ava Lynn. She was only 13, small and silent, but her mind was sharp, her heart even sharper. She had lost her family in the orbital firebombing of Rio. Dr. Wren placed a hand on her shoulder. "This isn't about revenge," he said gently. "It's about memory, so no child ever feels what you felt again." Ava didn't speak. She simply nodded, and from that day, she trained, learned, and connected with the living machine they were building, a machine that wasn't born in steel or code, but in grief and hope. The Echo Core was designed to link with emotion. It listened not to orders, but to the heart. It couldn't be stolen, copied, or fooled. It responded to truth, pain, and justice. By the time Ava was 23, she had become its anchor. She didn't control it. She became part of it, back in the present. As fleets across the galaxy floated lifeless, as Varnok's rage turned into dread, Ava sat inside her ship near the orbit of Unity Prime. Her fingers rested on a circle of Ov. Light, her eyes closed, her breathing slow, inside the ship. The second Echo Core hummed quietly. Waiting, the voice of Dr. Wren echoed in her memory. "If they ever laugh at it, Ava, let them, because they don't understand what it truly is. But one day, they will." And they had, meanwhile, on a hidden moon where no star shined above, a group of alien mercenaries activated a signal. They had been hired by the Kroth Dominion, ordered to strike Earth while the Council was distracted. Their mission was clear: invade, capture, disable, dominate. But the moment they crossed into Earth's solar system, their ships stopped, not by firepower, not by a defense fleet, but by silence. Every system shut down. Every gun melted into liquid. The stars above Earth twisted, revealing a network of satellites no one had seen before. The Echo Veil, invisible, untouchable, and everywhere. One of the mercenaries screamed as the lights dimmed in his cockpit, not from fear of death, but from the memories that filled the screen in front of him. Human children running, crying, burning. Every scream was heard, every tear shone in vivid detail. He fell to the ground, shaking, whispering, "What have we done?" The Echo Core was not made to kill. It was made to make them feel, make them see, make them remember. On Unity Prime, General Varnock finally received a private transmission, a shaky voice from one of his own outposts. "Warlord, our invasion force?" "They're not responding. They've dropped to their knees, crying. It's like they're being broken from the inside out." Varnock's face twisted in confusion. "How?" "We have the strongest minds in the galaxy." "No longer," the voice said before the line went dead. The cube on the council table flickered, projecting new images. These were not from Earth. These were from the minds of the invaders. The Echo Core had recorded their own memories, their actions, their laughter, while humans died. And now those memories were turned back upon them. One by one, the council members began to understand. This was never a toy. This was never a threat. This was a mirror, built by survivors, made from pain, powered by the truth. Varnock's hands trembled. He turned toward the Kari general. "You said their ships were primitive." "I was wrong," Irex whispered, eyes wide with fear. "Their technology is not old. It's just beyond us." Another message played, but this time it was Ava's voice, soft, calm, unshaken. "We never wanted war," she said. "But if our voices were not enough, and we had to let you hear our screams." The council sat frozen outside. The second Echo Core powered up, and far across the galaxy, a dead planet stirred from its sleep. The fall of giants, the galaxy had seen wars. It had seen laser storms rip through planets, wormholes collapse on entire fleets, and suns explode under artificial pressure, but it had never seen this. No fire, no death, just silence, cold and thick, floating across systems like fog. At the edge of the Kroth Dominion, the strongest fleet in the galaxy was preparing to fire on Earth. Over 700 ships floated in orbit above the planets. Atmosphere, sleek, black, and deadly. The fleet commander, Thon Moeller, watched the blue world through his war visor. "They won't expect us to strike now," he said. "Their toy can't defend against this." He didn't know the Echo Veil was already listening. From the moment the ships entered orbit, their AI systems had been watched, their command logs recorded, and their emotional states scanned without detection. The Echo Core didn't need missiles or defense shields. It just needed truth. And truth was always heavy. Back on Unity Prime, General Varnock shouted at a malfunctioning comm screen. "Why won't they respond? Where is my fleet?" His voice cracked, not with anger this time, but with something far more dangerous for a warlord. Uncertainty. A soft voice behind him said, "They're already gone." Varnock spun around, eyes wide. Ava Lynn stood at the edge of the council chamber. Her gray suit was untouched, her steps calm. No one saw her enter, and no one dared stop her. She didn't bring an army. She didn't bring weapons. Just a small silver disk floating behind her, glowing with the same light as the first cube. "Where are my ships?" Varnock demanded. Ava looked at him with tired eyes. "They're still there, just sleeping." "You lie," he hissed. "You can't stop them all." She tilted her head gently. "We didn't stop them," she said. "They did." Varnock blinked. Confused, the ruined screen lit up again, showing a strange sight. Hundreds of Kroth soldiers, some of the most feared in the galaxy, kneeling inside their ships, heads bowed. Some were weeping, others screaming. Some had torn off their armor and curled up like children. They weren't injured. They were broken. The Echo Core had shown them the truth of their own hearts. It had taken their memories, the cruelty, the conquest, the laughter at suffering, and made them feel it, as if they were the victims themselves. Tharn Moller was among them, staring at his own reflection in a cracked visor, whispering, "What have I become?" "They were giants," Ava said softly, walking to the center of the room. "But giants can fall when they finally see how small their hearts have become." The council was silent. Some of them trembled. Some lowered their eyes in shame. Others simply stared at her as if she were not human, but something more. Ambassador Lyra entered behind her, calm and strong. "The Echo Core is not a weapon," she said. "It is memory. It does not destroy. It reveals." "Reveals what?" croaked a Kari senator. "Everything," Lyra said. "Every order you gave, every scream you ignored, every planet you left to burn." Another screen lit up, this one from the outer colonies of the Shorak Empire. A fleet had vanished, just like Varnax, not destroyed, silenced. The ships floated empty, their crews lost in emotion. Unable to act, their systems worked, but their hearts didn't. General Varnock dropped into his seat, eyes hollow. "You've turned our own. Mine's against us." "No," Ava said gently. "We just gave them back the memories they buried." Then the council room shook. A deep vibration ran through the station, not from weapons, but from something far older. Above Unity Prime, a massive ring structure emerged from hyperspace. It wasn't a ship. It had no weapons, no engines. Just a hollow ring of stone and light. The council gasped. Some of them recognized it from old myths, the Ring of Return, a lost structure believed to be the final tool of the ancients. The Echo Core pulsed in Ava's hand. "This was never human alone," she said. "The ancients left the pattern. We only finished it." "What is it doing here?" One of the Yelenar asked. "It's listening," Ava whispered, "to see if the galaxy is ready to change." The ring turned slowly, humming, across systems. Species who once feared nothing now held their breath, waiting. "Will it destroy us?" Someone asked. "No," Ava said. "But if we lie again, if we forget again, it will return." And just like that, the lights in Unity Prime flickered back on. Power returned across sectors. Ships rebooted, weapons recharged, but no one moved, because the lesson had been burned into the soul of the galaxy. The Echo Core didn't need to win wars. It just needed the truth to be louder than silence. And now, for the first time in 1,000 years, the galaxy listened. Echoes of Earth's pain, the galaxy had finally gone quiet. But Earth had not spoken yet. Unity Prime floated like a ghost in space, surrounded by fleets that had powered up again, but refused to move. Ships waited silently, watching the ring structure. Above the station, no one dared attack, no one dared speak first. Inside the council chamber, Ava Lynn stood at the center, her hand resting on the glowing Echo Core disk. It hovered beside her like a memory, soft, warm, and full of silence that spoke louder than thunder. "I know what you're thinking," Ava said, her voice clear. "You think this is some kind of human revenge." General Varnock sat in silence. The fire in his eyes dimmed to ashes. Around him, other leaders stared with hollow eyes. Some still trembled from the visions the Core had shown them. Others sat stone-faced, ashamed of what they had once called justice. "But this is not revenge," Ava said gently. "This is remembrance." She raised her other hand, and the echo. Core shimmered. Suddenly, the room filled with light. Not cold, not blue, but golden. And then the images began to play, not from satellites, not from sensors, but from memory. A child hiding in the ruins of Mumbai. Blood on her hands, not her own. An old man digging through ash, trying to find a piece of his wife's necklace. A mother clutching her baby, as flames swallowed their escape. Pod, human faces, human screams, human eyes wide with fear, confusion, and betrayal. These were not dramatized videos. These were real. Each frame came from the minds of those who survived the invasions, the raids no one came to stop, the bombings. No one condemned, the slavery no one believed. Do you know what this is? Ava asked the council. This is what your silence cost us. The Kari leader shifted uncomfortably. We didn't know, he whispered. You knew. Ambassador Lyra said sharply, stepping forward. You just didn't care. The room tensed, but no one argued. Ava continued. We begged for help. We sent messages, distress calls, treaties. We asked to join your council, to be protected. You told us we were too young, too primitive, too emotional. She paused, letting the silence speak. And then you watched us burn. More images played, the lab where human children were experimented. On by the Yelenar for research, the gladiator pits where Shorak nobles laughed as Earth soldiers were forced to fight to the death. The auction block where human engineers were sold for parts. Gasps filled the room. Some of the council members turned away, unable to watch. You didn't just ignore us, Ava said, her voice breaking slightly. You made money from our pain. General Varnock growled lowly. I didn't know it was this bad. Then you weren't looking, Lyra snapped, because we never stopped screaming. The echo core pulsed again, and the projection changed, this time showing something different. A bunker deep beneath Antarctica. A group of scientists standing over a strange silver sphere. A young Ava Lynn among them, eyes wide, hands trembling, watching the birth of something ancient and alive. This is where the echo core was born, Ava said. It wasn't built for war. It was built to feel, to carry what we could no longer hold inside. The core did not fire lasers or crush fleets. It recorded, remembered, and returned pain to the ones who caused it. Not as punishment, but as understanding. Humanity didn't rise in anger, Lyra said. We rose in sorrow. And we built something to make the galaxy feel that sorrow with us. One of the Shorak generals finally stood up, tears in his eyes. I was a commander in the Eastern raids. I thought I was protecting my people. I thought we were preventing a future threat. You created one, Ava said, but not with anger, only truth. And now? The general asked, what happens now? Ava looked around the chamber. Now you choose. The echo core pulsed again, and every ship, every station, every AI in the galaxy received a single message. The accord of remembrance, one law, one. Warning, no species shall profit from another's pain. If you break it, Ava said, the echo core will return, and it will show your people everything you tried to hide. Silence followed. And then the Kari leader stood, stepped forward, and knelt. I am sorry, he said. For what we did, for what I allowed, we will sign. Others followed. Slowly, one by one, warlords, senators, commanders, they stood and knelt. Some in guilt, some in shame, some in hope. General Varnock remained seated. He didn't kneel, but he didn't resist either. He looked at Ava and asked, will it ever forget? Ava shook her head. No, and that was the answer the galaxy needed. Because forgetting meant repeating, and humans had learned to never forget again. The human response, 1,000 ships across 1,000 worlds waited for war, but none came. The galaxy had gathered its strength, fleets ready to retaliate, to strike Earth down for the humiliation, for the fear, for the silence that had spread like poison. But Earth didn't move. There were no parades, no messages of victory, not even a threat, just a signal, soft, steady, and clear, broadcast across every known frequency. It came not from a military base, not from a warship, but from a quiet place. Beneath Earth's oldest mountain, Mount Kalish, the camera feed opened to a wide room of stone and glass. A single figure stood in the center. dressed in white, surrounded by glowing circles of light. It was Elder Mira, the final voice of Earth. She wasn't a politician, not a general, not a scientist, just a teacher. Her voice was warm like sunlight in winter. Gentle but unshakable. You expected anger, she said. You expected war? But humans no longer build from rage. The message was broadcast to every council hall, every ship, every colony still trembling from the echo core's pulse. Alien. Leaders leaned in, unsure whether to prepare for surrender or strike. We do not seek to conquer, Mira continued. We seek to be remembered as more than the ones who bled. We want your children to know who we were, not by our screams, but by our strength. A slow ripple passed through the rings behind her, and one by one, names began to appear. Not generals, not kings, just names, millions of them, scrolling gently through the air. These, Mira said, are the names of those you never counted? A pause. They had dreams, she said. They had families. They had voices that were never heard. On Unity Prime, Ava Lynn watched from the council chamber, her hands folded as the words poured out. She didn't need to speak anymore. Earth had already spoken, through silence, through memory, through this single voice. General Varlock leaned forward, frowning. What do they want? He whispered. Mira answered as if hearing his thought. We want peace, but not silence. Not the kind where truth is buried and pain ignored. We want a galaxy where no species needs an echo core. The council chamber was still. Leaders looked at one another, ashamed, uncertain, open, and then it happened. The rings around Mira shifted again, and a map of the galaxy appeared, glowing softly, every known system marked in light, and new lights began to glow, places where humans had quietly arrived, not with weapons, but with healing, water, learning. You feared we would strike, Mira said. But while your armies waited, we were already rebuilding, not just Earth, but everywhere. Footage began to play. Human engineers fixing broken water systems on Yalanir moons. Human teachers sitting among alien children on Kari worlds. Doctors tending to wounded Shorak warriors without being asked. We are not here to dominate, Myra said. We are here to remind. A single tear rolled down the cheek of the Kari senator, watching from his homeworld. He had led 2 raids on Earth 50 years ago, and yet now his granddaughter was learning music from a human volunteer. He whispered, they came to help. Back in the chamber, the echo core floated forward one last time. It no longer glowed with threat. It pulsed like a heartbeat. Soft and human, Ava Lynn stood beside it. The echo core was never our weapon, she said. It was our memory. But we no longer want to carry it alone. She reached out and touched it, and the core split into 7 pieces, one for each major civilization in the galaxy. These fragments are yours, she said, to hold, to feel, to remember. Let the weight be shared. There was silence, and then, one by one, council members stood and accepted the fragments. Each felt different to each species, but all of them pulsed with the same thing. Truth, you have felt what we felt, Mira said from Earth. Now we ask only one thing. Never let it happen again. No threats, no ultimatums, just a final message. A gift born from the deepest wound. General Varlock stood at last, walked toward Ava, and looked at the core fragment in his hand. He said nothing, but he bowed, not in defeat, in respect, and across the stars, fleets powered down. Battle stations fell silent. Weapons were locked away, because the galaxy finally understood. Earth did not respond with destruction. Earth responded with remembrance. And no one ever forgot again. The day the galaxy fell silent, there was no parade, no announcement, no declaration of victory. And yet, the galaxy had changed. It did not change in the roar of war. It changed in the quiet that followed across distant star systems, the echo of. The core still lingered, not as fear, but as a soft presence, a whisper that lived inside memory, inside hearts, on the planet of Veleron, where humans had once been hunted like animals. The hunt grounds were now silent, the bones had been buried, and flowers grew in their place. Children, both human and alien, played together where screams once echoed. On Shorrock Prime, statues of old generals were taken down. In their place stood new monuments, not to soldiers, but to survivors. Their faces were not perfect, not heroic, but real, with eyes that remembered pain and hands that still chose. To build, in the sky above Kari space, old warships drifted with no engines, not as weapons, but as museums. Tours led by human volunteers told stories of what happened, not to shame, but to teach. And above all this, the echo core fragments pulsed softly, placed in temples, archives, schools, stations, never forgotten. The day the galaxy fell silent wasn't the day humanity destroyed its enemies. It was the day humanity made them listen. Ava Lynn stood at the base of Unity Prime's new monument. The statue above her was not of herself, or any leader. It was of a young girl in a torn coat, barefoot, eyes wide, looking at a sky full of fire. It was her. From a lifetime ago, beside her, General Varduk stood in silence. He had not returned. To his empire, he had chosen to stay, to watch, to understand. "I remember this moment," he said quietly. "I saw it on the core, but I didn't know it was you." "It doesn't matter who it was," Ava replied. "It matters that someone remembers." He looked down at his own hands. "You didn't destroy us, but you changed everything," she nodded. "We didn't want to win, General. We wanted to be heard, and they had been, on Earth, a new kind of council had formed, not of rulers, but of witnesses. Representatives from every species who had once ignored the cries of the weak now sat beside those who once cried. There were no titles, no thrones, only chairs. And every session began the same way, with a moment of silence, not to honor power, but to honor Truth. Elder Mira stood on Earth's highest mountain, looking at a sky full of stars behind her. Millions stood with candles, watching the stars too. No one said a word. And then she raised her voice. "Once we shouted into the dark," she said. "Now the dark listens." A pulse of light shot from the core inside Mount Kalish, soft and slow, a signal of peace, broadcast without words. The light reached ships, planets, even forgotten stations floating in the void. On a cold moon where no life had ever stood, the light touched ancient metal, and the machine woke up. It did not speak. It simply listened, because even the oldest things now remembered what silence meant in the archives of the Yelaner species. A new book was added, not on weapons, not on mind control, but titled simply The Human. Heart, written in every language. It had one line on the first page. To feel is not weakness. To forget is. For the first time in galactic history, no one laughed at Earth. No one called them primitive, weak, or emotional. Instead, they were called what they had always been: strong, resilient, awake. And the Echo Core? It was no longer just a human creation. It was the galaxy's memory. Ava Lynn walked away from Unity Prime for the last time. She returned to Earth, not to lead, but to live. She planted a tree above the old core chamber. It grew tall and fast, and its leaves shimmered with light when touched. Children played beneath it, and the wind always carried a soft whisper. Not words, but something deeper. A feeling, a reminder that the galaxy once laughed at humanity, but the humans? They remembered, and that made all the difference.